right, welcome everyone as I continue my, looking back on 23, looking ahead to 24. At least that's our starting point. We'll see what happens here because Kelly Broaddus is with me, and she's brought in the biggest stack of papers that she's had all year. She even has one that's like 11 by 17 sheet there with graphs, and that's what I love about you. You've got the data, and it's interesting what you've come up with as far as when we talk about the real estate market and over time. And I think what you have is from Case-Shiller, and it's national as far as what prices declines over time. And of course it's national, so it's like local markets could have done a little different, but overall, right, if you're going to stay in your home a long time, you can usually survive these things. What we call the zombie apocalypse, or the Y2Ks, or the I don't know, it's COVID hysterics, things
just
like that.
Bumps, right?
Yeah.
Bumps, big bumps.
I remember some big bumps where I'm like, how did we survive that? Yep. I'm kind of surprised we've survived to this point for many reasons, but just in general, I thought when COVID hit and, they told everyone to stay home, Kelly, and then I thought the real estate market was going to be absolutely incinerated. I thought the economy.
I did too.
I thought we were going over a cliff, and I'm like, how did they kind of pull this rabbit out of the hat? I don't know.
Absolutely.
I don't know. But what do you got there? It's over time. Give me some highlights.
Okay. So the Case-Shiller study, which it's a national study. This one is really shocking to me because they went back to 1942 and they showed how many times in history since 1942 to 2022 prices of homes actually went down. Okay. So we have, they're not counting whenever whenever it's at zero, it's not a down. It's a zero. So flat. Right. Yeah. So 1990, we had a 1% decrease in property values. In 2006, mid 2006 to mid 2011, we had a consistent downturn of home prices. So 5%, 12%, 4%, 4%, 4%. Guess what, Jeff?
I remember those days.
But guess what? That's it.
That's it?
That's it.
Over since 42. We're talking nationally.
Nationally, since 1942. Yeah. So the point is, for all the folks that are waiting for this housing apocalypse, where prices it's going to be 2008 again. It's just not going to happen.
Well, anytime I've tried to predict things and said it's going to be like it was or a past situation, you're oftentimes wrong.
I know.
And I don't give anyone advice out there because I don't want you to buy a home and then
come back
it does drop down and then you're like, I got to move. Now Jeff cost me $100,000. That's, you got to think about all that and work on that. But
this is historical data.
Yeah.
Though.
I look at home ownership and it's like, are you going to be there for a while? Are you putting down roots? Right. And because you're going to be, and buddy of mine, Mark Howitt, who's a frequent guest host here on the program, always says you're paying rent to someone, either the landlord or the bank, unfortunately, unless you're in a wonderful situation where you're buying these homes cash. I get it. That's a rare. Well, you deal with it. I'm surprised when you tell me this was a cash buy, and it's like.
There's a lot of them. There is.
Well, I was just over in California. I was over in Santa Barbara. I was like, I understand now. Because the homes are like $4, $10, $20, $30 million. I was like, this is nuts. Okay, so, and 42 is a good starting point because 42, obviously America was just getting into World War II. Yeah. Then you mentioned 1990.
1990, one year it went down.
And I remember that time, that was when my family sold out in New York and got out of that place and moved out here. You mentioned 07 through 2011. The great financial crisis. Some would call it a mini depression. I mean, it was bad.
It was bad.
That was bad. And people were losing jobs. People were losing homes. I still can remember that like it was yesterday, Kelly.
Me too.
When people were getting foreclosed on. So overall, though, the trend is pretty good, especially if you're planning on staying for a while.
Exactly.
That's what you would take away from that.
That's what I would take away from that,
right,
yeah.
Let's get into more of this, and Kelly Broaddus is with us. Love to hear from you. When Kelly Broaddus is with us, we're going to kind of wrap up the year, and one more data point you've got there is on the
interest rate.
Is that the interest rate? And what's that one showing? Who's that from?
Okay, so this is just straight data.
Okay.
I don't know exactly who it's from. This was data that was pulled, and so we have the average interest rate from 71 to 79 was 8.89.
Okay.
From 80 to 89, it was 12.82. That's the average. I mean, it spiked up to 18%.
Yeah,
like
1908, like end of Jimmy Carter, I'm thinking was when it really spiked, right? Okay.
Yes. 90 to 99 was 7.88. 2000 to 2009, the median was 6.18.
Okay.
And then, of course, 2010 to 2019 was 4.03, and that's during the time when it dropped way, way down. So 2020 to present, no, actually 2020 to present is when it dropped way, way down.
Yeah, that was the crazy COVID rates.
Right. So 2.65 was the minimum.
Man.
That was the minimum. And then 7.79, which is what it is now, which we've actually dropped from last month. We've dropped a point.
Yeah, I heard we were flirting in the 8-9 range there for a while on the 30. Okay, let's think about that. Let's ponder that for a second, Kelly. First of all, for those of us that didn't refinance at 2.65%, still pounding my forehead, right? I mean, thinking like, why? And then there's a lot of people, and let me get your take on this. I think this is a big development of the years. There's people that did get into that rate at 2, 3, something percent, right? During COVID. And now they're sitting in their home and the equity has increased. Where are we about? 750 on the median?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, not quite.
Okay, and where were they before COVID? 5s, maybe?
Yeah, it was in the 5s.
Okay, so they're sitting on $250,000 of perceived gain, if you were to sell the home. And I'm trying to get into people's brain because I'm thinking what they would be thinking is, I'm not moving across town to the $900,000 home or whatever and paying 6, 7, 8%. I'm going to just sit put here at 2 3/4% or whatever. Is that a decision point you've seen a lot of?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Is that hurting the inventory? Has that hurt the inventory?
It is, but the funny thing is, in the last week and a half, I've gotten 2 calls a day, people ready to list, wanting to list. So the spring is going to be, if I am a plumb line for all the other agents, it's going to be crazy.
So you're jumping ahead to predictions. That's pretty much the end of the show.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
But,
no, so you're thinking that we got, just based on your experience and instinct, hey, there's a lot of calls coming in here. People are kind of itching. It's kind of like, hey, I'm looking for a car, and you start wandering the lots. Yeah. It's like, new car purchase coming, right? Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. Okay. So, but there are still a lot of people though that I think are sitting put.
Yeah.
Because they're either, unless they can cash it, do a sale and get a home cash in the transaction, they're doing that math. And I spoke with someone recently, and they were like, people are paying $4,500, $5,000 a month on these mortgages right now.
On the new purchases, ones. Yeah.
And I'm just like, maybe starting to sound kind of old, Kelly, because I'm like, I remember when I paid $825 a month for my mortgage, and that was 1999, 2000. So long gone. That's never coming back.
No, and based on this Case Shiller study, people that are waiting for prices to bottom out, I don't know. Doesn't look like it will happen.
Yeah. Well, and even if you took, what's the median? 750-ish?
It's actually in the high 6s now, so it did drop a little bit.
Oh, it did? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just, for a round number sake, it did already drop some, but let's say the median price is 700. Let's say you even had a massive correction. Let's say they dropped locally, because the numbers you're giving are national. Right. So all real estate's local. Let's say they dropped 10% and you all of a sudden got to 630, or they dropped 20% and you got back into the 5s. That's still a heck of an increase from, I will use my house as an example. My house was $212,000 in 2001, and it's probably in that median range-ish. Now. 7 something.
Right.
So even for me, who's been in a home for a long time, and a lot of people out there, went back down to 500 and something. I'm still like, life's not too bad. So I guess what I'm saying is, it's not going to zero. And it's probably not going to be a 50% correction. No. If it is, hey, and you can email me later, right? Okay, so what are kind of some of the other big highlights for last year, or 2023?
so last year, when interest rates went up, so we still had an increase of list prices of 7.07% in Flagstaff across the board.
Okay, so over 7% up.
Yeah, and then the sold price still was 4.5% over what it was year over year.
So a little wheeling and dealing, but not like
it's up,
like
so.
COVID times when we were talking. It was like
it was
multiple
ridiculous.
offers and
$100,000
over. Yeah. Okay,
it's not like that.
Yeah.
Thank you, God.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That was crazy. Not fun.
Yeah. But you could write a good book though.
Oh man. Days on the market. Average through the year, it dropped. It's at 55 instead of 49.
Okay.
The year before. So
a little
about
quicker,
the same.
About the same.
And then homes are selling for 95.24 of the original ask price.
Okay.
Percent.
So again, not a lot of wheeling and dealing.
No, it's a little bit lower than it was the year before.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so
we're in a buyer's market still.
Okay.
So that's
but not overly so. I mean, it's
not ridiculous.
Yeah,
no,
it's not ridiculous because I think you still got that. What's the inventory issue, and how many people are still staying put?
Right.
I don't see a lot of new stuff coming on either. I know there's some developments out there that are kind of popping online, but it just seems like the rate at which they're built, they come online, it seems like so slow. It's not like an Anthem north of Phoenix that came online one day and all of a sudden there was 20,000 homes out there. That's always been the issue in Flagstaff, I think, is you can't keep up with it.
Yeah.
With the at least new construction.
Right.
All right, what else you got there that's kind of looking back?
Oh, let's see. Actually, the median right now in Flagstaff as of October was 630. So it did drop.
Okay.
It did drop.
Okay. And for my listeners outside of Flagstaff, I pulled Camp Verde and Sedona, and I was kind of surprised to see a lot of those. Not Sedona, Camp Verde, Cottonwood, and those had even popped into the 4s and 5s.
Really?
For median. So it's the whole area.
Yeah.
That's seen quite dramatic increases.
Yep.
It just shuffles through the pile.
Yeah. The most expensive home that sold in October was 3.1.
Was that for the year? Or was that just for the month?
That was just for the month.
Do you have any bearing on the most expensive for Flagstaff for the year?
I think this is probably around the
That's probably
most.
So
it's around there. In the
3 million. Yeah, man, I remember the days when it was just like $1 million was unusual.
Oh my
and now
goodness,
you're probably dealing with that quite often
all
now.
The
You've
time.
seen some of the homes you're selling. Huh. 3 point something
and
million.
The lowest priced home to sell in October was 407. How about that?
Was it like I won't say that. Was it rough? Because I would imagine that it might have been. I see some and I'm like, I'm not saying this one was that particular one, but I was like,
it was in Hart Prairie. So,
okay. Okay. But I've seen some that come up once in a while and like, you want 400 for that? That looks like something from Breaking Bad.
I know.
It's like, crazy. I don't want to get back to your Oklahoma story of driving out in the middle of nowhere, but it was, but that's crazy because that's unfortunate because people can't get like the sweat equity fixer uppers right now. It's a little harder to get into that. Okay. Yeah. We're talking with Kelly Broaddus, wrapping up the year. Is that about what you got there?
Yeah, that's what I got
the data. Okay.
Year.
So still pretty hot market, I guess I would surmise, for 23. What I'd like to do is get into some of the predictions with you and see where maybe this is all heading and hit on that when we come back. And I'd love to hear from you as well. All right, Kelly Broaddus is here with us, going over last year, looking at 23, looking ahead to 24. Do you think I'll ask you this, just your opinion on interest rates. Do you think heading south? I mean, you already kind of mentioned that, but do you think we're going to...
We went down from October to now a point, right? Mm-hmm. And the feds have said they're not going to raise rates in spite of the job numbers are good. But
I'm always a little skeptical, but that's me by nature. Okay.
But they say they're not going to raise rates. So on the mortgage front, I've spoken with a lot of my advisors, a lot of the people that I talk to, and they're saying that it's predicted they won't really go down any further than 6.5. So,
okay.
But when you look at the history of interest rates, 6.5 isn't that bad.
if you go back to that chart you had back to the 70s or whatever that was, that's actually very common.
Very common.
I mean, I'm thinking back to my first house in 99-ish, and I think it was 7%.
Yeah.
And you better come in with 10% down. Right. I mean, it was unusual for like, I got 1%, something like that. I mean, now you can get those deals, but 10%, that was kind of the magic number, and you're going to be paying 7%. Yeah. So I was like, okay, that's fine. We're going to be here for 30 years. We weren't, but okay. So
yeah. So, my feeling is if you're on the fence about whether to buy a home or not, and you're thinking, well, I'm just kind of going to wait till the spring and see what happens. Maybe rates will go down some more. The thing is, maybe you and 100,000 other people are waiting, Yeah. And, right now, savvy buyers are, if it's indeed what you're wanting to do, savvy buyers are trying to get a deal now. Mm-hmm. Now is the time because sellers are uneasy. They don't know what's going to happen any more than buyers do. But if what I'm saying is right, maybe now is a good time to get sellers to take a chunk off of that price, or to pay some closing costs to buy your rate down or whatever it is, Well,
last time you were on, we spent a lot of time talking about those concessions, the buy downs that were happening.
Right.
And if memory serves me right, you were talking about like some people doing like 9% off the sale price. Yeah. So just to pick a number, $1 million, it's like they're kicking in $90,000. Mm-hmm. Which just kind of shocked me because I'm like, well, is the house worth $1 million or is it worth 910? Because the money's coming from somewhere and it's going somewhere. Has that changed? Is it?
No, but you just never know what a seller's motivation is, what their situation is, and you just make those offers and you keep trying. You find an agent that is willing to make those offers for you. Yeah. And then you might hit one where they have to get out of Dodge, for whatever reason.
Whatever their situation is, sick of it. Sometimes people run into some kind of life situation.
Right.
I mean,
right. It happens.
It happens. And then you happen to hit it just right. Are you kind of in the camp of, and I don't think you are, where you make an offer and it's like, no, that's what they're asking, or you're the wheel and deal and hey, offer them. If you're
I'm serving whoever it is that I'm working for, the buyer or the seller.
Yeah, if you're on the buyer side, I'm
going to be, my goal is to get them the best deal that I can.
And here's the comps, and this guy's asking this much, this girl's asking this much.
Let's try this.
Maybe you come in here, and okay. So, because I've had some agents in the past tell me, it's like, they're asking that, you shouldn't offend them. And like,
what?
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I need to find a new agent.
Not offend them. This isn't the day for that.
This is the day for that because somebody might be motivated. And then I proceeded to get my real estate license after that. And, cause I was doing my own transactions.
Yeah.
And then I got sick of the continued education and all the stuff I had to do, right?
So
I finally let that go and I was like, okay, I'm just going to call Kelly and, I don't need to deal with this anymore. So, okay, that's good. Okay. Let's get into some more stuff here in just a second. Talk with Jeff at iCloud.com. Love to hear from you. And let me throw out Kelly's number here as well. I should know it by heart, but I don't remember things like that. 888-446-5602. And then your website's really cool as well because you get that valuation tab where, your big thing is that you don't even have to talk to an agent, which I find offensive that if they didn't want to talk to you. But if you're that kind of person, you don't want to talk to Kelly right off and you just want to go to the website.
I'm still going to call you.
Yeah. Don't, 88. Oh, no. We want to do a website. NorthernArizonaFineHomes.com. That's NorthernArizonaFineHomes.com. A lot of people using that tool. It's a pretty handy tool.
Yes, every day. Yeah. It's hard for me to keep up. Yeah. Really.
Is that all like software? Like how do you?
It's an algorithm and they pull the, valuations from a ton of different sources and then they amalgamate it and
imagine when you first started, it's like something like that wasn't possible. You'd be sitting there doing all the calculations yourself. And trying to give a guess on that.
This is the Jeff Oravitz Show.
Kelly Broaddus is here with me. We're talking shop when it comes to real estate and a lot of other issues as well. And we've seen the prices go up dramatically. She's given us some awesome data. If you missed the beginning of the show, the podcast is always up So that way, if the zombie apocalypse happens, maybe we continue on the podcast. One thing that concerns me going into 24, one thing that concerns me just in general, when I look at my 3 kids and I'm like, my eldest daughter's 20, and before you know, it's like, well, maybe they want to buy a home. And I look back on when I bought my first home in Flagstaff in 99-ish, I'm certain it was under $100,000 and interest rates were 7%. But nowadays, it does seem like, at least in many parts of northern Arizona, Flagstaff, Sedona, and a lot of areas, it is becoming a lot more unattainable in that area, which is kind of a natural thing because it's grown so much in desirability. Mm-hmm. When you look up Flagstaff, you often hear best Christmas town, best mountain town. Oh, they get, if you're into snow, which a lot of people are, they get some of the biggest snowfalls, in the country. There's a ski resort. It's become that more resorty type feel, but with that comes extremely high prices. California, I was over in Santa Barbara, and the prices were multiple millions of dollars, and people sell there. They come here, they plop down cash. There's a barrier that does exist to getting in this community. And I'm not being like whiny and saying, we need the government to step in and make housing fair and affordable for everyone, because you've had plenty of clients that have come to you and sold their home because they moved to cheaper areas. There are cheaper areas in the country, so that's the reality. Mm-hmm. But you're here. You're saying, hey, I want to put down roots. My family lives here. I want to stay here. I'm going to be here for the long haul. Are there programs to help first-time buyers? What are you seeing out there?
Well, there's a lot of programs, and this one that I was just made aware of today, as a matter of fact, it's $6,500 with no strings attached, meaning no income limits. You don't have to live there for any certain amount of time. You do have to be a first-time home buyer, meaning you can't have owned a home in the last 2 years. Okay. You can have a co-signer that is a homeowner. That's okay. So I'm thinking for students that, are moving here and wanting to buy something, somewhere to live, a condo or something, this is perfect for them. The only catch is there's a whole list of towns that they have to be moving here from.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So I have that list. Yeah. So we have actually a town in California, Sandy Springs, wherever that is, Baltimore, Maryland, Brownsville, Texas. It just goes down. There's a list of probably 20. I don't know what the reason. Are they trying to
get people out of there? It's like, we want people to leave here.
I don't know. Even Oklahoma City is one of the towns.
Okay, but so that's an interesting program.
Interesting. Very interesting.
6,500 down?
So it's $6,500 towards closing costs or down payment.
I see what you're saying. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. And then the only other thing is that if it's a single family residence, it has to be a 97% loan to value. So 3% down. Okay. Which $6,500 of that 3% down can go towards the down payment.
Let me break out my calculator. I was love doing that to you, because you're saying, 3% down, and
let's say they're buying a condo.
Can you buy a condo for $400 in Flag?
Easy.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's a good place to start sometimes. I mean, it's like you get your feet in there, you
can buy a condo for $300.
Okay. So that's, and then a couple of years, hopefully you move up, or maybe you like the condo.
Well,
life.
They even let you do a multifamily. You can do a multifamily, so you would just have to live in one of the 3%
units. Down would be $12,000. These are very round numbers, but $12,000 on a $400,000 condo. So then it's like, hey, there's a program, and I'm sure there's piles of other programs if you dig.
There is.
So there's 6,500. So minus 6,500. We're doing high math today, so I got to come up with 5,500. Most people. I know sometimes it sounds like, how do I come up with that? But you work out, you set your goal, you I'm setting aside X amount per month. You can do it. This is doable.
The beauty with the FHA loan is the down payment can be a gift from a family member. It doesn't have to be your money. Okay. So with the multi-unit, it has to be 5% down. So with the 5% down, that cannot be a gift.
Okay. So 5% again, multi-unit. You're talking like a duplex.
Yeah. Duplex or even 3 or 4.
Units. Let's talk about that for a second, because if I were to go back in time, and again, I'm not giving you advice, but if I were to go back in time, Yes, Angela and I bought our first home, a single family home north of town, and we did good. You know, we got some sweat equity there, and we were able to move into our next home, which we're still in, Kelly. But if I were to go back in time, I would have found, me personally, a duplex.
Yeah.
For my first
100%.
one. Because it's hard to find them now. Maybe they're $500,000.
But what about a single family house with a mother-in-law?
Yeah.
What about
mother-in-law?
that?
Yeah. Or what about a single family house that's in an area of your community that allows accessory dwelling units?
Right.
There's some neighborhoods that don't permit it. I think the HOA supersedes. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Can I put I'd put an accessory dwelling unit here.
You can do it here.
Oh, can I?
Continental allows it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm getting a backhoe out there tomorrow. Well, that's what I'm doing over the Christmas break, building an ADU now. No, but I would look at a property that's either zoned for another unit, a property that allows an ADU, a property that has an ADU, or traditional duplex or triplex or whatever. Because think about it. You get in, let's do some more math here. Again, this is kind of spontaneous here, but let's say it's $500,000 for, like a duplex. Okay, you're going to have to come up with, is it 10%?
On a 500,000, you can do 3.
Okay, let's say it's 3%. $15,000, closing costs, et cetera. Let's say
get the seller to pay your closing
Okay,
costs.
yeah. That's the thing. There's room to work with
there
things.
Is.
That's how I got into real estate. That's how Kelly got into real estate.
You just try.
You kind of wheel and deal, and it's like, don't feel like if you have the agent that says you got to give them the offering price, and there's no
dump your agent. So
you call Kelly, and really, let's be fair. There's other competent agents out there as well, but I like promoting you, obviously, Kelly. You call someone like Kelly who's competent. You call Kelly, and you say, let's wheel and deal here. I'm willing. I got months to buy this. Let's find the right deal. Mm-hmm. And you wheel and deal, and someone like Kelly's going to be like, here's how we work this. Let's work this angle. Let's try this angle. And then all of a sudden, and I know this is true because I've done it. I've gotten into places with concessions, with this and that, and all of a sudden you're putting down a lot less than you thought. And then you get into a duplex. So you get into a duplex that's, let's say, $500,000. And I'm just going to go to simple $500,000 mortgage at even, I'm going to figure high here, at 7%. Your payment is $3,300, right? A month. Let's call it $3,500 just to round up.
With taxes and insurance.
So you're living on one side.
Yeah.
And the other side's renting for $2,000.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you're still paying, but you're paying what we were paying in 2003, 2001 when we were buying homes as far as the mortgage, the old time mortgage prices. Right. It's a great way to go.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great way. You're going to be a landlord and you're going to get whining and, but who cares? You're going to come out. And then a few years later, you go to Kelly and you say, I got a lot of equity in here and I'm going to be able to finance a new home. And now I'm going to move into a single family home and keep that duplex and rent out both sides for $2,000.
There you go. It's the way to do it.
Now you're renting it for $4,000 and your original mortgage is $3,500 or whatever, or whatever the new prices are. Rent's gone up. Right. When I got into this gig for rent was, I had units at $500 a month. That was in the early 2000s. Yeah. Now they're $2,000, so
yeah.
Anyway, no.
Well, and what about if you keep your eyes open for a house that you can do minimal construction and
sweat equity.
Yeah. Part of the house could be rented if you just put up this little wall.
Yeah.
Right.
Check with the city and all of a sudden it's like, you need a firewall here or whatever. And then, it's zoned for 2 units. You could add to that. There's so much in this gig. Don't let
where there's a will, there's a way.
Exactly. Don't let somebody who's never done it tell you that it can't be done because you're listening to people who've figured out how to do it.
Yes. 100%.
And there's a lot more of us out there and you just got to kind of seek that out and know that it can be done.
Can be done. I see it all the time. Yeah. So,
okay.
Yep.
All right. Barring the zombie apocalypse, you're feeling pretty good going forward?
I am. Okay. I'm feeling very good.
Good.
Yep.
Good. Hopefully we don't have to talk about the even if the zombie apocalypse, I'm sure Kelly can find you a house with a bunker. Right? Do you ever hear about those like silos that people are buying?
Have.
They're buying literally the old like missile silos that the government has sold. That to me is it'd be kind of cool, but that's a bit much. All right, Kelly. I sure appreciate all your insight over the past year. I look forward to.
It's been fun.
It has been fun. I look forward to having you back on a regular basis in 2024. I would encourage everybody to listen back. If you go to my podcast, there's some great segments that you and I have done, including I love your kind of how you got into this story.
Yeah.
I think we did in the fall sometime.
Yep.
That is well worth listening back to.
I've been posting on Facebook other stories and other things, so follow me on Facebook and Instagram, and if you missed anything today, you're welcome to call me. I'm happy to email you all this information.
Yeah, shout out the number again.
Mine 888-446-5602.
Okay, what's your Facebook name, handle?
Oh gosh,
whatever?
Kelly Broaddus Realtor. I think you can.
If you type in Broaddus,
find me. If
it'll
you type in Kelly Broaddus, Broaddus, you can find me.
Okay,
so, easy.
all right, look that up and friend. I've done Facebook in a while, but you know,
or
I know
Instagram.
a lot of people do that, or Instagram. Yeah. All right, Kelly. Wishing you a Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Happy holidays. Happy New Year, and
to all of you too.
Absolutely, and look forward to getting you back in here next year. All right, love to hear from you. Talk